Welcome back to Shock and Schlock. I am your host, Herschel Gillis, and today we're taking a look at one of the best and most talked about releases of the year from Unearthed Films, Scott Philip Gergen's 29 Needles. 29 Needles is a 2019 psychosexual horror film directed by Scott Philip Gergens, as mentioned previously, with music by the fantastic Patrick Andrew Willis. The film itself follows Francis, a middle aged man who uses pain and sex to restrain his inner demons and to keep himself in line. There are parts in the film where he says that he uses pain and sex to make him feel better, but not good. I thought this was an interesting thing, but I'll come back to that later as well. Throughout the movie, we see Francis sort of begin to lose grip on his own reality, and the original pleasures that he was using before are they begin to not work as well, and he begins to search for newer and more extreme sexual experiences, which leads him to meet a man named Hans, who may just be the answer to the questions he has and leads him on a path to self destruction and a spiral that is almost reminiscent of something like Dante's Inferno. So, first, I want to talk about the budget of the film and how I was quite shocked by how good this film looks. The film was shot over 3 years on a $2,500 budget, and this film does not look like that. It looks fantastic. The cinematography is wonderful. The music is fantastic. I really want to talk about that as well. Patrick Andrew Willis did a great job on this. As many of you know, I also have a small music project that I do myself, and the music produced for this film by Patrick Andrew Willis was really fantastic and reminds me of something that would inspire my own music making there as well, with dark, atmospheric, and moody music that sort of accompanies the scenes in the film very well. It kind of sets the tone, as well as the acting from the newcomer. His name is Brooke Berry. He did a fantastic job as Francis in this. I don't think I've ever seen an actor in an independent film quite like this. He really, really, really puts himself into this role a lot. He really disappears into the character. This also, it kind of leads to my next point that this is a film, as you can see on here, was released by Unearthed Films, Too Extreme for Mainstream line, and the film, it is extreme. Um, I don't know how I want to get into this. So, there is several quite graphic sex scenes in this. There's graphic scenes of masochism, sadomasochism, S&M, bondage. It's a lot of stuff that, a lot of viewers are probably not going to be comfortable watching. I don't think a lot of it's there to make you feel comfortable. This is definitely a movie that kind of wants you to snap out of um, the comfort and kind of relaxed nature that a lot of us have with much of the cinema. It really does try to do something new, which I really appreciated in this. You don't see a lot of extreme horror films like this that, number one, focus on a member of the LGBT community. I thought that was really interesting as well, and it was very refreshing to see that. And you also don't see a lot of films like this that are extreme, not for just solely based on how violent they are. The film is violent, but it's also related to sex, which is sort of an interesting combination there that I really appreciated in this film. It has some parts in it that are certainly there that are going to shock a lot of viewers. I won't spoil those here, but it is worth mentioning because I do want to talk about how this film is actually pretty beautiful as well. Shot fantastically. There are a lot of really great shots in this. There's one in particular that felt almost like a dream that you'd have where Francis sort of pulls his car off of the road, gets out, and he goes and is just staring at the sky and snaps to the next frame, and he's completely naked looking up, sort of falls to the ground. Really great scene there. I think this film's going to mean a lot to a lot of people and mean a lot of different things to a lot of people. A lot of this movie's up to interpretation. It felt a lot like something from David Lynch in his earlier days, like Eraserhead, something like that, where a lot of the film is sort of up to interpretation on what it means. There's a lot of symbolism here. Really great, though. It's never really hammered into you, or it doesn't feel pretentious at all to me, which is something that I see in a lot of these sort of films. So that was really nice to see that the film is actually interesting, tries to be something different with there. It doesn't just have cryptic ideas just to be cryptic and to not add anything to the experience. It's sort of like a study into the psychology of the character. It reminds me a lot of something like Schramm by Jörg Buchardt, which I know a lot of you know that I'm a huge fan of, as evident by my 50 of 50 VHS release. I always like to show that off. But yeah, it reminds me a lot of something like that, where it's a sort of character study that has this sort of, you almost see the world from the main character's point of view. It's very surreal in that way. You see a lot of stuff that may not be there actually, and some stuff may be real. It's sort of just how his psyche is projecting on the environment, sort of, to help what he sees. There's some stuff that are obvious that are actually happening to the character, and I believe some of that also leads to his psyche changing as well. That was really, really interesting to see. That's why I'm such a big fan of this film as well. Seeing Francis sort of go on this downward spiral into like this hellish new reality is really, really interesting to me. A lot of it almost seems like there are parallels between Dante's Inferno in this film as well. I won't spoil too much here, but there is a scene, and there are many scenes that take place in this location as well, in a um, underground sex club. And Francis goes there and he's speaking with Hans, the man who I mentioned at the beginning of the video, and they're talking about the levels of the building and what goes on there. And I feel like that sort of mirrors like the levels of hell, where it gets more extreme as it goes up. And then like he talks about the seventh area is somewhere that you'd never go to unless it's special occasions and they have to plan it prior. So that also adds like a layer of mystery there. I did really find that really fascinating as well. Um, yeah, I really, really enjoyed this film as well, because Scott Philip Gergens in this film obviously has a very singular vision, and as a aspiring filmmaker myself, seeing somebody that's so passionate, it's so obvious in this film that there's a lot of passion put into this from the director. He has a singular vision, and he's not allowing any outside sources to sort of influence him. He's doing what is his singular vision there. Really cool. I always appreciate when I see that. When directors don't cut anything to satisfy an audience, they sort of just make a film for themselves, and you can take it or leave it. And I really, really appreciate that every single time I see something like that. It feels like very in your face punk rock filmmaking in a way, just because he truly made a film that is all his own, and you can see the passion put into this by Scott himself there, as well as Patrick Andrew Willis and Brooke Berry there. I mean, all three of these guys obviously had a lot invested in this film, and with the low budget, you can't tell just most of the time. You can tell a couple of times that there were slight budget restrictions there. Nothing that takes away from the film at all, and I don't think a lot of people are going to notice that anyway. Um, the special effects in this film are also fantastic for the budget that they had. I truly don't know how some of it was accomplished with such a low budget. Really, really, really impressed with that. Scott Philip Gergens is a multimedia artist as well. At the end of this video, I'm going to put some links in the description here so you can check those out. I'm going to link Scott's personal art page where you can check out stuff about 29 Needles, his written works, his art pieces that you can purchase there as well as linking to the Unearthed Films website where you can purchase 29 Needles on Blu-ray. I believe it's on Diabolic DVD as well, so I'm going to put that in the description too. Also going to link to his and my Instagram pages here as well, just so you can check that out. Show him some love. I really think he deserves it. It's a fantastic movie. Overall, I would even go as far as to say that 29 Needles is probably my favorite independent horror film of the last 10 years, and I don't think that's an exaggeration. This is truly a film that isn't like anything that I've seen. It's very extreme, and as a fan of underground and extreme cinema, it was a breath of fresh air with its um, more LGBT um, community focused characters, as well as the film um, focusing on the psyche of the character. And it's a film of a psychosexual nature, which I think is really interesting compared to a lot of what you see in this medium and the genre as a whole. Yeah, really appreciated this film. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Scott Philip Gergens puts out next. This was one of my favorite films in a very, very long time. When this released last month from Unearthed, I unfortunately was not able to see this when it was at film festivals and during the initial release or anything like that, but I did get this from Unearthed Films. Great film. Highly, highly, highly recommended to anybody that's remotely interested in anything that I said about this. For people getting into extreme horror, it is slightly disturbing. It's not going to be the most disturbing film you ever see, but there are going to be some shocking parts in there, so that is a fair warning for people who are just coming into this film from standard horror films. There is several unsimulated sex scenes as well, which is worth mentioning. It doesn't personally bother me, but if that's something that offends you, it's worth noting as well. But yeah, if you think you can stomach this film, that's sort of a weird way to say it. Because I don't think this is a film that feels like an endurance test or anything like that. It is really just a powerful film. But if it's something that disturbs you too much, it is worth noting. But even then, I would try giving this one a chance, just because it's an incredible film, an incredible soundtrack, incredible filmmaking. The cinematography is fantastic. Brooke Berry is going to definitely be an actor to look out for in the future as well. And honestly, I look forward to seeing everything that these guys put out next in their future endeavors. I was such a big fan of the soundtrack as well. I actually ordered a physical CD, which I haven't done in years. The last film that I ordered a soundtrack for was Necromantic on vinyl, and I haven't bought a CD since then. This is my second CD in maybe a decade, so that should give you an idea of how great that is too. I'm going to link the Bandcamp for that as well in the description, so you can check that out. Even if you don't watch the movie in the future, you should for sure. You should definitely check out the soundtrack, and I hope that sort of encourages some of you to check out the film later as well. Yeah, so I'm going to give this film 5 out of 5. I know that that's a high score, but this really is a film that is well worth the 5 out of 5 here. And I'm really happy that this is really the first review that I really am proud of on this channel. This is such a great film. I'm looking forward to watching this again. I'm hoping to get an interview for this channel with the director as well. I contacted him, and he was very nice and willing to do an interview with me as well. So if he's watching this, I really do appreciate that, and I look forward to speaking with you there and hopefully spreading this to a wider audience. I know I've been recommending this to everybody that I know, and everybody watching this, you should totally check this out. So 5 out of 5 stars. I appreciate you all sticking here with me. Go check out 29 Needles. Buy a copy. Support independent filmmaking. This is really one worth checking out. So thanks for that. Remember to subscribe and click the bell button in the corner there so you can see my next update as well. Thanks.